Hello, all. Sorry if I sound a little bit rough today. I am fighting the pollen that the spring is bringing. So, I'm going to try to do my best to not have that interfere with the narration, but as I'm sure you know, pollen is evil. Evil. So, there may be there may be a little hitch here and there. But today we're going to be reading a story I am super excited for. My Time as a Navajo Police Officer, Skinwalker, by Forward Growth. I actually saw this on Tales from the Creeps when it was originally being posted. I glanced over it because I was reading some other stuff at the time, and I was like, ooh, this is right up my alley. I love, like these stories where it's like, it like takes, place in like a profession, and I'm kind of a sucker for like Native American horror, I won't lie. I actually was writing a piece myself that was kind of about it, and I mean it's just so nice. But I'm not gonna keep talking. So without further ado, let's get started with My Time as a Navajo Police Officer, Skinwalker, by Forward Growth. Part 1. My name is Jose Oliva. I'm 24 years old, and I just finished a 22-week academy at the Arizona Law Enforcement Academy in Phoenix, Arizona. Today's my graduation. The reception was a chaotic mix of crying mothers, flashes of camera, and cheap fruit punch that was already warm. I was loosening my tie when I saw them. They cut through the crowd like sharks moving through a school of minnows. 3 of them. Uniforms different than the ones surrounding us. Darker, heavier. The patch on the shoulder. Navajo Police Department, Shiprock District. They looked worn. Not messy, but weathered. Like leather that's been left in the sun too long. Oliva? The woman in the lead was Sergeant Vera Nelson. I knew the face from the Zoom interview, but in person, she was formidable. Hair pulled back tight enough to give me a headache. Eyes that had seen everything twice. Sergeant, I snapped to attention. Easy, Boot. You're not in the grinder anymore. She looked me up and down. You look cleaner than I expected. We watched the tape on your final scenario. You hesitate on the breach. It wasn't a compliment. It wasn't an insult. It was just data. Yes, ma'am. I wanted to verify the target. Verify faster. In Shiprock, hesitation is a funeral procession. She jerked a thumb at the woman beside her. Lieutenant Johnson. Johnson didn't look like a cop. She looked like a CEO who fired people for fun. Blonde, short hair, eyes scanning the crowd behind me, checking exits, checking threats. Congratulations, Oliva. Enjoy the cake. It's the last free meal you're going to get. Thank you, Lieutenant. Don't thank me yet. You haven't met your nightmare. Johnson stepped aside. Behind her stood a man who looked like he was carved out of sandstone. Samuel Sloan. He was older, maybe late 40s. Mustache trimmed to the millimeter. His boots weren't just shined, they were glass. He didn't speak, he just stared at me. He was reading my posture, my hands, the way I stood. Sloan, Nelson said, this is your new headache. Sloan took a sip from a styrofoam cup of black coffee. He finally spoke. His voice was like gravel in a cement mixer. You from the res? Yes, sir. Shiprock. Does that mean you think you know how to police it? It means I know the road, sir. The roads change, Sloan said. The people change. The laws? Out there, the laws are suggestions. He stepped closer. He He smelled of Old Spice and gun oil. I'm your field training officer. For the next 4 months, you are glued to my hip. You listen, you learn, and you keep your mouth shut unless you are calling out a license plate. Understood, sir. And let's get one thing clear, Oliver, Sloane said, lowering the cup. We are partners. We are not friends. I am not coming to your family cookout. I am not playing Xbox with you. My job is to make sure you don't get us killed. Your job is to drive. Clear? Crystal. Good. Monday, 0600. Don't be late. And for the love of God, get a better shine on those boots. I can see the grain. The crowd was thinning out. The sun was dipping low, casting long orange shadows across the parking lot. Maya walked up, her dress uniform bag slung over her shoulder. She looked tired. So? She nodded toward the departing Shiprock unit. That's them, the Three Musketeers? Something like that, I said. FTO looks intense. He looks like he eats rookies for breakfast and spits out their badges. Maya laughed, but it was nervous. You good? I looked at the card Sloane had shoved in my hand. Just a number and a time. Yeah, I lied. I'm good. Don't die out there, Jose. Seriously. You neither, Maya. She got into her car. I stood there for a second, watching the heat waves rise off the asphalt. The academy was over. The safety net was gone. Now I had to go home. And for the first time in 22 weeks, I was actually afraid. Shiprock District Station. 0545 hours. The station looked like a bunker that had lost the war against the sun. Center blocks painted a color that was supposed to be tan, but had faded to the color of dried mud. Jose pulled his truck in. He killed the engine. The silence of the morning wasn't peaceful. It was heavy. He checked his reflection in the rear view. His uniform was too clean. His boots were too black. He looked like a target. He stepped out. The air smelled of sagebrush and diesel fumes. Samuel Sloane was already at the unit, a battered Ford Explorer that looked like it had rolled down a canyon wall and driven back up. Sloane wasn't cleaning his gun. He was leaning against the fender, smoking a cigarette, watching a stray dog trot across the lot. Jose approached. Morning, sir. Sloane didn't look at him. He took a drag, held it, and exhaled a stream of blue smoke. He dropped the butt and crushed it with a boot that looked like it could kick through a brick wall. You're early, Sloane said, voice like gravel. 15 minutes, sir. Don't fish for a compliment, Oliver. Early's on time is late. Sloane pushed off the car. He was big. Not gym big, but work big. I see you got the shine on the boots. Let's see how long that lasts. The back door of the station opened. Sergeant Nelson walked out. She looked tired, holding a clipboard like a shield. Sloane, she nodded. You got the rookie? I got him. Don't break him before lunch. We're short-staffed as it is. She looked at Jose. Oliva, forget the academy. Forget the fancy scenarios. Out here, the radio dictates your life. You ready? Yes, Sergeant. Good. Here's the keys. She tossed them. Jose snatched them out the air. You drive? Sloane observes. If you wreck my unit, you're walking back to Phoenix. The interior of the Explorer smelled of stale coffee, gun oil, and old sweat. It was a smell you couldn't scrub out. Jose adjusted the seat. The radio was a constant low-level chatter of static and codes. "Let's get one thing straight," Sloan said, staring out the passenger window as they rolled onto the highway. "I saw your file. You were a CO, a turnkey." "Yes, sir. At the Shiprock Jail." "That's a problem." Jose glanced over. "Sir?" "In jail, the bad guys are already in cages. You tell them when to eat, when to sleep. You have the control." Sloan turned his head, his eyes hard. "Now here, we don't have control. We are guests in their house. You walk into a situation, acting like a guard, ordering people around, you're going to get your teeth knocked out. You understand?" "Understood." "Well, we'll see." The radio crackled. "Unit 7? 1016, domestic, mile marker 12. Say by Ty Road, third trailer on the left. History of 242. Sloan didn't reach for the mic. He just looked at Jose. Jose swallowed dryly. He keyed the mic. "Unit 7, copy, en route." The trailer sat on a patch of dirt that had been beaten flat. A washing machine sat on the porch, rusted out. The kid, maybe 5 years old, was sitting on the steps, poking the dirt with a stick. He didn't look up when the cruiser rolled in. "Watch the hands," Sloan muttered. He unbuckled his seatbelt, but didn't open the door yet. "Always watch the hands." They got out. The heat was already rising, shimmering off the aluminum siding. A woman was by the door, holding her arm. She wasn't crying. She looked exhausted. "He's drunk," she said flatly. "He threw it through the toaster." "Is he armed?" Jose asked, hand resting on his belt. "He's got a bottle, maybe a knife in his boot. He always has a knife." The screen door slammed open. Billy Yazzie stumbled out. He was shirtless, jeans stained with oil. He looked like wire and rage. "Get the hell off my land!" Billy screamed. Spit flew. "Sir," Jose stepped forward, using his command voice from the jail. "Calm down. Step off the porch and talk to me." "Don't you tell me what to do. I know you. You're Oliver's nephew, the jail screw." "Billy, step down now." Jose pointed a finger. "Bad move," Sloan whispered behind him. Billy didn't step down. He launched. It wasn't a movie fight. Billy collided with Jose, smelling of rot gut whiskey and unwashed hair. They hit the dirt. Dust exploded up, choking them. Jose felt a fist graze his ear, a stinging impact. Jose grabbed a wrist, slick with sweat. He couldn't get a grip. He jammed his knee into Billy's side. Billy grunted. Jose used the leverage, twisting the arm behind Billy's back, forcing his face into the gravel. "Stop fighting!" Jose yelled, gasping for air. "Stop!" He got one cuff on. Click. He wrenched the other arm back. Click. Jose lay there for a second, on top of the suspect, heart hammering against his ribs like a trapped bird. Dust coated his tongue. Sloan was standing over them. He hadn't drawn his weapon. He hadn't even broken a sweat. He looked down at Jose, then at Billy. "You talk too much, Oliver," Sloan said. "Get him up. You got dirt on your new uniform." They put Billy in the back. He was passed out now, the adrenaline dump knocking him cold. Jose stood by the hood of the Explorer, wiping blood off his ear with a napkin. Sloan leaned against the fender, lighting another cigarette. "You treated him like an inmate," Sloan said. He wasn't yelling, he was lecturing. You pointed your finger, you gave him an order, you challenged his pride in front of his wife and kid. On the res, pride is the only thing some of these guys got left. You challenge that, you gotta be ready to fight for it. I got the cuffs on, Jose said, defensive. Yeah, you did. And you took a hit you didn't need to take. Sloan flicked ash onto the ground. Next time, you talk to him like a human being until the cuffs are on. Then you can be the guard. You hear me? Jose looked at the blood on the napkin. I hear you. Good. Sloan opened the passenger door. Let's book 'em. Then we're getting coffee. You look like you need it. Shiprock, District Station. Break room, month 2. The coffee in the pot had been cooking since the graveyard shift. It smelt like burnt wiring. Jose poured a cup. His hand was steady, but his eyes were rimmed with red. The first month had sanded off the shine. His uniform fit better now, not because it was tailored, but because he moved differently in it. Less stiff. Sloan walked in. He didn't say hello. He walked to the calendar on the wall and crossed off a day with a thick black marker. Phase 1 is done, Sloan said, staring at the grid. You didn't quit. You didn't crash the car. You didn't get sued. High praise, sir. Sloan turned. He looked at Jose over the rim of his own mug. Don't get cocky. Phase 1 was the honeymoon. Phase 2, it's the marriage. Sloan sat down, the chair groaning under his weight. 50-50. That's the deal. You drive, you talk, you make the decisions. I'm just 200 pounds of cargo in the passenger seat. Unless you're about to violate a civil right or get us killed, I keep my mouth shut. You sink or swim, Oliver. I'm ready, Jose said. We'll see. It's easy to be brave when Daddy's holding the leash. Let's see how you do when the leash is off. The call came in at 0900. Silent alarm. Old trading post off of Route 64. Jose killed the lights a mile out. He rolled the Explorer onto the gravel shoulder, letting the tires crunch softly. He looked at Sloan. Sloan was looking out the window, arms crossed, feigning disinterest. My call, Jose thought. We approach on foot, Jose whispered. Cover the back. I'll take the front. Sloan nodded once. He got out, moving silently for a big man. Jose unholstered. He moved to the front door. It was jarred open. Wood splinters on the floor. He could hear rustling inside. Police! Show me your hands! Jose shouted, stepping into the doorway, weapon drawn but depressed. A figure popped up from behind the counter. A kid, maybe 19, skinny, shaking. He dropped a canvas sack. Cans of Spam and a bag of bluebird flour spilled out. Don't shoot! The kid screamed. Don't shoot! Jose scanned him. No weapon, just fear. Jose holstered his gun instantly. He didn't tackle him. He just walked up. Relax, Jose said, his voice dropping an octave. Hands on the counter. Spread 'em. I'm just hungry, man. Mine's laid everyone off. I know, Jose said. He patted the kid down. Name? Tommy. Tommy Begay. Turn around, Tommy. Jose spun him. Click, click. Sloan walked in from the back. He looked at the spilled flour. He looked at the kid. Then he looked at Jose. What's the call, officer? Sloan asked. He's in custody, Jose said. But we're not charging him with the B&E. We'll cite him for trespassing and take him to the chapter house. They have a food pantry." Sloan stared at him for a long second. The air in the room was still and hot. "You sure? By the book, that's a felony." "The book doesn't live here," Jose said, echoing Sloan's own lesson. "He's hungry. If I book him, he loses his shot at the mine when they hire back. If I feed him, maybe he stays out of trouble." Sloan cracked a half smile. "Your call. Load him up." Later that day, they were parked on a ridge overlooking the wash, eating sandwiches wrapped in foil. The adrenaline from the morning had faded into the midday lull. "You speak the language well," Sloan said. It was the first personal thing he said in 3 days. "With that grandmother earlier, you have the cadence." "My grandfather," Jose said, chewing a piece of fry bread. "He was a code talker. Taught me that words have weight." Sloan stopped chewing. He looked at Jose. Really looked at him. "Code talker. That's heavy blood." "And my great-great-grandmother was on the long walk," Jose added, staring out at the jagged horizon. "She carried her sister for 50 miles. Sloan asked Jose where he learned how to shoot. "My grandpa taught me. We would hunt all the time, but like anything else, shooting is a perishable skill. One day my grandpa almost shot me and hit the family dog. After that day, I never seen him, but I did continue to hunt, practice my shooting." Sloan nodded slowly. He took a sip of lukewarm coffee. "My wife, she was traditional. Weaver. She used to say the land remembers everything, even the things we try to forget. She sounds like she was a good woman." "She was," Sloan said. The silence returned, but it wasn't awkward anymore. It was shared. "She hated this job, though. Said it made me hard." "Did it?" Sloan crumbled the foil wrapper into a ball. "Yeah, it did. But someone has to be the rock." He started the car. "Phase 2 isn't over yet, Boot. Let's go." 1,500 hours. Highway 491. Hours later, the sun was dipping below the horizon, casting long, bruised purple shadows across the station parking lot. The adrenaline dump had left Jose feeling hollowed out, but steady. Sloan sat in the passenger seat of the parked unit, finishing his daily evaluation. He tossed the clipboard onto the dash with a heavy clatter. "Solid shift," Sloan said, staring out the windshield. "You're actually swimming, Oliver." Jose let out a breath he felt like he'd been holding since morning. He rubbed the back of his neck. "Feeling better about it. Less like I'm drowning every time the radio goes off." Sloan pulled a cigarette from his shirt pocket and struck a match. The sudden flare illuminated the deep, cynical lines around his mustache. "Good. Enjoy the feeling," Sloan said, exhaling a thin stream of blue smoke out the cracked window. "Because Phase 3 starts Monday." Jose frowned, turned the key to kill the engine. "What's Phase 3? Sloan turned to look at him, his eyes dead serious. "Phase 3 is the ghost phase. Starting Monday, I show up in plain clothes. I don't wear a badge. I don't talk to dispatch. I don't help you with combative drunks. And I don't back you up unless you are actively bleeding out." He leaned closer, the smoke curling in the narrow space between them. You are the police, Oliver. I am just a shadow. Jose swallowed hard. Sir? And the shadow, Sloane whispered, opening his door to step out into the evening air, judges everything. 0200 hours. Route 491. Sloane was in the passenger seat, wearing jeans and a faded Carhartt jacket. He had his boots up on the dashboard. He was asleep, or pretending to be. The radio crackled.
Unit 7, 1010. Fight in progress at the laundromat at Maine. Suspects armed with bats.
Jose looked at Sloane. Sloane didn't move. His breathing didn't change. Jose keyed the mic. Unit 7 en route. He hit the lights. The siren wailed, bouncing off the empty storefronts of Shiprock. Jose drove hard, taking the corner fast. You coming? Jose asked as he put the car in park. Sloane opened one eye. I'm a ghost, remember? Ghosts don't break up fights. Don't get killed. He closed his eyes. Jose got out. The cool air hit him. Inside the laundromat, 3 men were swinging axe handles at each other near the dryers. Glass shattered. Jose drew his baton. He didn't wait. He kicked the door open. Police! Get on the ground, now! They turned. 3 of them. Drunk, angry, big. Back off, cop, one yelled, raising the handle. Jose didn't de-escalate. He didn't have time. He stepped in, closed the distance, and struck the lead guy's thigh. A perineal nerve strike. The guy crumbled. Drop it, Jose roared, spinning to the second guy. Drop it, or you're next. The other 2 froze. They looked at their friend on the floor, then at Jose's baton, then at the door. They dropped the wood. By the time Jose had them cuffed and lined up against the washers, Sloane strolled in. He was holding a cup of coffee he'd gotten from the 7-Eleven next door. He looked at the handcuffed men. He looked at Jose, who was breathing hard, sweat dripping off his nose. You missed the spot. Sloane pointed to a smudge of blood on Jose's shirt. Let's book him. Shiprock District Station, Captain's office. The room smelled of a stale toner and floor wax. Captain Nick Colt sat behind a desk buried under mountains of paperwork. He looked like he hadn't slept in a week. Sergeant Nelson stood by the window. Lieutenant Johnson was leaning against a filing cabinet. Sloane sat in the corner, arms crossed, staring at the floor. Sit. Colt grunted. He didn't look up from the file in front of him. Jose sat. The metal chair was cold. We're reviewing your FTO packet, Colt said, finally looking up. His eyes were hard, tired. Sloane says you can drive. Nelson says you can write a report. Johnson says you haven't shot anyone yet. That puts you ahead of the curve. Thank you, sir. Don't thank me. You're a liability until you hit year 5. Colt threw the file closed. We have a concern, Oliver. The witchcraft calls. The room went silent. Jose felt the temperature drop. Sloane's notes say you entertained the caller regarding a Skinwalker complaint, Colt said. That you spent 20 minutes looking for non-human tracks. Jose looked at Sloane. Sloan didn't look up. "Sir," Jose said, keeping his voice steady. "The reporting party was terrified. If I dismissed her, she wouldn't call us next time. I checked the wash to clear the scene and calm the resident. It was community policing." Colt stared at him. He looked at Nelson. "He's right, Nick," Nelson said. "If he laughs at her, we'd lose that family's trust." Colt sighed. He rubbed his temples. "Fine. Just keep the ghost stories out of the official reports. The Fed read those and think we're running a circus out here." Colt signed the paper. The scratching of the pen was the loudest sound in the room. "You pass, Oliver. You're off probation. Get your gear moved to a solo unit. Don't make me regret this." 1,700 hours. Jose walked to his truck. He was holding his gear bag. He was done. A solo officer. "Oliver." Sloan was leaning against his own truck, a beat-up Silverado. He wasn't wearing the uniform. He looked older in the sunlight. "Captain went easy on you in there," Sloan said. "You put the Skinwalker call on my eval?" Jose asked. He wasn't angry, just tired. "I put everything in the eval. Transparency." Sloan spit on the ground. "You handled it right, though. Checking the tracks." "Sloan." Jose stepped closer. "The tracks in the wash. You saw them too. You know they weren't coyotes. I thought the Navajo police policy states we need to investigate any paranormal calls." Sloan looked at Jose and said, "Well, Captain's been trying to change that for a while. Says we need to be in the 21st century." Sloan looked around the empty lot. He lowered his voice. "You're a solo beat now, Jose. That means there's no one to watch your back but you." Sloan reached into his truck and pulled out a small leather pouch. It was old, stained with sweat. He tossed it to Jose. "What is this?" Jose asked. It smelled of cedar and corn pollen. "My wife made it," Sloan said, looking away. "Before the accident. Put it in your vest, over your heart." "Sloan, what happened to her?" Sloan opened his door. "The desert is big, kid, and it's old. Just because we have badges doesn't mean we run this place." He climbed into the truck. "Watch your six, Officer Oliver." Sloan drove off, leaving a cloud of red dust hanging in the air. Jose stood there, holding the pouch. He looked at the badge on his chest, then he looked at the horizon, where the sun was dipping behind Shiprock. The shadows were stretching out, long and dark, reaching toward him. He was alone now. Shiprock District. 0,545 hours. The trailer was quiet. The kind of quiet that rings in your ears. Jose stood in front of the mirror. He didn't look like a hero. He looked like a guy trying to get a crease out of his shirt. He adjusted the badge. It was heavy. It pulled the fabric down just a millimeter. He walked out to the truck. The air was cold, smelling of sage and burning wood. He climbed into the unit. A Explorer 7 Alpha. He put his coffee on the cup holder. He put his gear bag on the passenger seat. He stopped. He stared at the bag. For 3 months, that seat had been occupied by 220 pounds of Samuel Sloan. It had been occupied by cigarette smoke and judgment. Now, it was just a bag. The radio static hissed. The only sound in the world. Briefing. Oliver. Lieutenant Johnson didn't look up from her iPad. You're 7 Alpha, solo. Don't be a hero. Don't be a ghost. Just answer the radio. Yes, ma'am. And Oliver? She looked up, eyes tired. If you wreck that car, you're walking until Christmas. We're short on units. Understood. Sergeant Nelson walked past, holding a stack of citations. She didn't stop. She'd have slapped his shoulder with the papers. Watch your 6, Boot. You're on your own. 0800 hours. Chapter House lot. The man was slumped against the chain-link fence. He smelled like cheap vodka and old sweat. One shoe was missing. Hey. Jose nudged the man's boot. Wake up. The man groaned. He cracked an eye open. Oliver? That you? It was Benali, a distant uncle on his mother's side. Not close enough to be family, but close enough to be embarrassing. Yeah, it's me. Come on, Benali. You can't sleep here. Kids are going to be walking to the bus stop. I'm resting, Benali slurred. He tried to stand and slipped. Jose caught him. It was like catching a falling sack of cement. Dead weight. The smell of urine hit Jose in the face, sharp and ammonia heavy. You're not resting. You're intoxicated, Jose grunted, hauling the man upright. I'm not taking you to the tank. I'm taking you to your sister's. Work with me. You're a good boy, Jose. I like that Sloan fella. He's mean. Get in the car, Benali. Jose shoved him into the back seat. He slammed the door. He wiped his hand on his pants, trying to get the feeling of the man's greasy jacket off his skin. He looked at the rearview mirror. The cage separated them. Don't throw up in my unit, Benali. I mean it. 1300 hours. Highway 491. Heat waves shimmered off the asphalt. 2 pickup trucks were locked together like angry beetles. A Chevy and a Ford. The drivers were in the ditch, screaming. You stop short, the rancher yelled. He was red-faced, spitting dust. You were tailgating me, the girl shouted back. She looked like she was late for the class at the community college. Look at my bumper! Jose walked up. The radiator of the Ford was hissing, spitting green coolant onto the dry earth. Hey, Jose shouted. Separate, now! They stopped. They looked at him. License, registration, insurance. Both of you. He hit me! I don't care who hit who right now. I care that you're blocking a federal highway. Documents, now. Jose stood on the shoulder, writing the report. The sun beat down on the back of his neck. Sweat trickled down his spine, soaking his vest. He looked at the passenger seat of his unit. Empty. Usually Sloan would be there, making a crack about how people drive with their eyes closed. Today, just silence. Jose signed the citation. Tow truck is 10 minutes out. Wait in your cars and stop yelling, or I start writing tickets for disorderly conduct. 1700 hours. roadside stand. Jose sat on the hood of the Explorer. He had a piece of fried bread in one hand and a lukewarm Gatorade in the other. The sun was starting to dip, turning the mesas purple. It had been a good day, a quiet day. He handled the drunk. He handled the wreck. He didn't call for backup. He didn't panic. He took a bite of the bread. It was greasy and warm. I can do this, he thought. I'm doing it. The radio cracked. The dispatcher's voice was different this time. Urgent. Fast.
7 Alpha, 7 Bravo, priority call. Domestic with a weapon, 44 Red Rock Drive, reporting party says suspect has a rifle. Shots fired.
Jose froze. The bread turned to ash in his mouth. Red Rock Drive. He knew that address. It wasn't just a house. It was his cousin's place, Leo, the one who had been struggling since he got back from the Marines.
7 Alpha copy?
Jose threw the bread on the ground. He slid off the hood. 7 Alpha copy, en route, code 3. He jumped into the car. He looked at the empty passenger seat. Ghost phase is over, he whispered to the empty air. He hit the lights. The siren screamed, shattering the quiet. Another day, another call, another report, and all over again. The Badlands. 1945 hours. The phone didn't ring. It buzzed against the hard plastic of the center console. A short, angry vibration that sounded like a wasp trapped in a jar. End of story. Man, what a great read. Haunting. Love the environment. Can't wait to read more. As usual, guys, you can find a link to the author's story and to their account in the description, so do check them out. An amazing work here. I think my longest one yet. But, that ain't matter. Thank you, guys. Hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.